I am doing Job 23 right now. It's been a while. We had to take a break for the Holy Week. Beautiful week. Job 23. Then Job answered, "Even today my complaint is still bitter. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. I know that I knew where I might find him, that I could come to his place of residence. I would lay out my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would know with what words he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me with great power? No, he would only pay attention to me. There an upright person could present his case against before him, and I would be delivered forever from my judge. If I go to the east, he is not there, and to the west, yet I do not perceive him. In the north, when he is at work, I do not see him. When he turns to the south, I see no trace of him. But he knows the path that I take. If he tested me, I would come forth like gold. My feet have followed his steps closely. I have kept to his way and have not turned aside. I have not departed from the commands of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my allotted portion. But he is unchangeable, and who can change him? Whatever he has desired he does, for he fulfills his decree against me, and many such things are his plans. That is why I am terrified in his presence. When I consider, I am afraid because of him. Indeed, God has made my heart faint. That Almighty has terrified me. Yet I have not been silent because of the darkness, because of the thick darkness that covered my face. Chapter 24. Why are times not appointed by the Almighty? Why do those who know him not see his days? Men move boundary stones. They seize the flock and pasture them. They drive away the orphan's donkey. They take the widow's ox as a pledge. They turn the needy from the pathway, and the poor of the land hide themselves together. Like wild donkeys in the wilderness, they go out to their labor, seeking diligently for food. That our Rift Valley provides food for them and for their children. They reap fodder in the field and glean in the vineyard of the wicked. They spend the night naked because they lack clothing. They have no covering against the cold. They are soaked by mountains, rains, and huddled in the rocks because they lack shelter. The fatherless child is snatched from the beast. The infant of the poor is taken as a pledge. They go about naked without clothing and go hungry while they carry the sheaves. They press out the olive oils between the rows of olive trees. They tread the wine presses while they are thirsty. From the city, the dying groan and the wounded cry out for help, but God charges no one with wrongdoing. There are those who rebel against the light. They do not know its ways, and they do not stay on its paths. Before daybreak, the murderer rises up. He kills the poor and the needy. In the night, he is like a thief, and in the eye of the adulterer watches for the twilight thinking. No eye can see him, and covers his face with a mask. In the dark of the robber breaks into houses, but by day they shut themselves in. They do not know the light. For all of them, the morning is to them like deep darkness. They are friends with the terrors of darkness. You say he is foam in the face of the waters. Their portion of the land is cursed, so that no one goes to their vineyard. The drought as well as the heat snatched up the melted snow, so the grave snatches up the sinner. The womb forgets him, the worm feasts on him. No longer will he be remembered. Like a tree, wickedness will be broken down. He preys on the barren and childless women, and does not treat the widow well. But God brags of the mighty by his power. When God rises up against him, he has no faith in his life. God may let them rest in the feeling of security, but he is constantly watching all their ways. They are exalted for a little while, and then they are gone. They are brought low like all others, and gathered in, and like a head of grain they are cut off. If this is not so, who can prove me a liar and reduce my words to nothing? Chapter 25. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered, Dominion and awesome might belong to God. He establishes peace in his heights. Can his armies be numbered? On whom does his light not rise? How then can a human being be righteous before God? How can one born of a woman be pure? If even the moon is not bright and the stars are not pure as far as he is concerned, how much less mortal man who is but a maggot, a son of man who is only a worm. Chapter 26. Then Job replied, How you have helped me, how you have helped the powerless, how you have saved the person who has no strength, how you have advised the one without wisdom and abundantly revealed your insight. To whom did you utter these words? And whose spirit has come forth from your mouth? The dead tremble, those beneath the waters and all that live in them. The underworld is naked before God. The place of destruction lies uncovered. He spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth on nothing. He locks the waters in his clouds, and the clouds do not burst with the high weight of them. He conceals the face of the full moon, shrouding it with his clouds. He marks out the horizon on the surface of the waters as a boundary between light and darkness. The pillars of the heavens tremble and are amazed at his rebuke. By his power he stills the sea. By his wisdom he cuts Rahab the great sea monster to pieces. By his breath the skies become fair. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Indeed, these are but the outer fringes of his ways. How faint is the whisper we hear of him, but who can understand the thunder of his power? Chapter 27. And Job took out his discourse again. As surely as God lives, who has denied me justice, the Almighty who has made my life bitter. For while my spirit is still in me and the breath from God is in my nostrils, my lips will not speak wickedness, and my tongue will whisper no deceit. I will never declare that you three are in the right until I die. I will not set aside my integrity. I will maintain my righteousness and never let it go. My conscience will not reproach me for as long as I live. Many my enemy be like the wicked, my adversary like the unrighteous. For what hope does the godless have when he is cut off? When God takes away his life, does God listen to his cry when distress overtakes him? Will he find delight in the Almighty? Will he call out to God at all times? I will teach you about the power of God. What is on the Almighty's mind I will not conceal. If you yourselves have seen this, why in the world do you continue with this meaningless talk? This is the portion of the wicked man allotted by God, the inheritance that evildoers receive from the Almighty. If his children increase, it is for the sword. His offspring never have enough to eat. Those who survive him are buried by the plague, and their widows do not mourn for them. If he piles up silver like dust and stores up clothing like mounds of clay, what he stores a righteous man will wear, and an innocent man will inherit his silver. The house he builds is as fragile as a moth's cocoon, like a hunt that a watchman has made. He goes to bed wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, it is all gone. Terrors overwhelm him like a flood. At night, a whirlwind carries him off. The east wind carries him away and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls itself against him without pity as he flees headlong from its power. It claps its hands at him in derision and hisses him away from his place. Chapter 28. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the ground and rock is poured out as a copper. Man puts an end out as a copper. Man puts an end to the darkness. He searches the farthest recess for the ore in the deepest darkness. Far from where people live, he sinks a shaft in places travelers have long forgotten. Far from other people, he dangles and says, the earth from which food comes is overturned below as though by fire. A place whose stones are sapphires that contain dust of gold. A hidden path no bird of prey knows, no falcon eye has spotted. Proud beasts have not set foot on it, and no lion has passed along it. On the flinty rock man has set to work with his hands. He has overturned mountains at their base. He has cut out channels through the rocks. His eyes have spotted every precious thing. He has searched the sources of the rivers, and what was hidden he has brought into light. But wisdom, where can it be found? Where is the place of understanding? Mankind does not know this place. It cannot be found in the land of the living. The deep says, it's not with me, and the sea says, it's not with me. Fine gold cannot be given in exchange for it, nor can its price be weighed out in silver. It cannot be measured out for purchase with the gold of Ophir, with precious onyx and sapphire. Neither gold nor crystal can be compared with it, nor can a vase of gold match its worth. If coral and jasper, no mention will be made. The price of wisdom is more than pearls. The topaz of Cush cannot be compared with it. It cannot be purchased with pure gold. But wisdom, where does it come from? Where is the place of understanding? For it has been hidden from the eyes of every living creature, and from the birds of the sea, birds of the sky, it has been concealed. Destruction and death say, with our ears we have heard a rumor about where it can be found. God understands the way to it, and he alone knows it, for he looks to the ends of the earth, and observes everything under the heavens. When he made the force of wind and measured the waters with a gauge, when he imposed a limit for the rain and a path for the thunderstorm, he looked at wisdom and assessed its value. He established it and examined it closely. He said to mankind, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to turn away from evil is understanding. Chapter 29. Then Job continued his speech. Oh, that I could be as I was in the months now gone, in the days when God watched over me, when he caused his lamp to shine upon my head, and by his light I walked through darkness, just as I was in my most productive time, when God's intimate friendship was experienced in my tent, when the Almighty was still with me and my children were around me, when my steps were bathed with butter and the rock poured out for me streams of olive oil. When I went out to the city gate and secured my seat in the public square, the young men would see me and step aside, and the old men would get up and remain standing. The chief men refrained from walking and covered their mouths with their hands. Their voices of the nobles fell silent, and their tongues stuck to the roof of their mouths. As soon as the ear heard these things, it blessed me. And when the eye saw them, it bore witness to me, for I rescued the poor who cried out for help, and the orphan who had no one to assist. The blessing of the dying man descended on me, and I made the widow's heart rejoice. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My just dealing was like a robe and turban. I was eyes for the blind and feet for the lame. I was a father to the needy, and I investigated the case of the person I did not know. I broke the fangs of the wicked and made him drop his prey from his teeth. Then I thought, I will die in my own home, my days as numerous as the grains of sand. My roots reach the water, and the dew lies on my branches all night long. My glory will always be fresh in me, and my bow ever new in my hand. People listened to me and waited silently. They kept silent for my advice. After I had spoken, they did not respond. My words fell on them drop by drop. They waited for me as people wait for the rain, and they opened their mouths for the spring rains. If I smiled at them, they hardly believed it, and they did not cause the light of my face to darken. I chose the way for them and sat as their chief. I lived with a king, like a king among his troops. I was like one who comforts mourners. But now they mock me, those who are younger than I, whose fathers I disdain too much to put on my sheepdogs. Moreover, the strength of their hands, what use was it to me? Those whose strength had perished, gaunt with want and hunger, and they would roam the parched land by night, a desolate waste. By the brush they would gather herbs from the salt marshes, and the root of the broom tree was their food. They were banished from the community. People shouted at them as they would shout at thieves. So they had to live in the dry stream beds, in the holes of the ground, and among the rocks. They brayed like animals among the bushes, and were huddled together under the nettles. Sons of senseless and nameless people, they were driven out of the land with whips. And now I have become their taunt song. I have become a byword among them. They detest me and maintain their distance. They do not hesitate to spit in my face, because God has untied my tent cord and afflicted to me. People throw off all restraint in my presence. On my right, the young rabble rise up. They drive me from place to place and build my siege rams against me. They destroy my path. They succeed in destroying me without anyone assisting them. They come in as through a wide breach. Amid the crash, they come rolling in. Terrors are turned loose on me. They drive away my honor like the wind. And as a cloud, my deliverance has passed away. And now my soul pours itself out within me. Days of suffering take hold of me. Night pierces my bones. My gnawing pains never cease. With great power, God grasps my clothing. He binds me like the collar of my tunic. He has flung me into the mud, and I have come to resemble dust and ashes. I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up, and you only look at me. You have become cruel to me with the strength of your hand, and you attack me. You pick me up on the wind and make me ride on it. You toss me about in the storm. I know that you are bringing me to death, to the meeting place for all the living. Surely one does not stretch out his hand against a broken man when he cries for help in his distress. Have I not wept with the unfortunate? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? But when I hoped for good, trouble came. When I expected light, then darkness came. My heart is in turmoil unceasingly. The days of my affliction confront me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. In the assembly I stand up and cry for help. I have become a brother to jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin has turned dark on me, my body's hot with fever, my harp is used for mourning, and my flute for the sound of weeping.